أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
اللهم صل على محمد.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله
رسول الله وخليفته.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله
رسول الله وخليفته في الأفاس.
حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين ورحمة الله على محبيهم ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صلوات محمد. صل على محمد وآله. أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم اتقوا الله. Respected sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. The day of Friday, I have to remind myself and the believers to observe the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ittaqullah, ittaqu rabbukum, to be conscious, to be weary, and remembering of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all affairs and all our lives. As we continue our discussion that we began last week on the ayat of the Quran Majid, which obligates fasting, and I had mentioned that the translation that I had liked into the English language was Kutiba alaykum as-siyam, translated as fasting is prescribed for you, as opposed to other translators who have said fasting is compulsory on you or obligatory on you, because the prescription symbolizes almost a metaphoric well-being, or reaching towards or wanting to go towards a well-being. And if you recall last year when we were on our Risalat al-Hukuk chapter on fasting, the messenger of Allah's successor, Imam Ali ibn Hussein Zain al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, Salli ala Mawla mentions that the right of the fasting is that you understand that it is a veil. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put it as a veil for the mu'mineen, and it's a veil between us and of course the fire of hell, in which that veil is placed upon our eyes, upon our hearing, upon our private parts, upon our stomachs, and it's a way of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is one of the things that the Imam, when you look at it from a philosophical point of view, and then you also match it and sort of correlate it from the fiqh point of view, you will see that fasting means you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't engage in sexual relations. And whenever I go to the public schools, I am explaining fasting, and they're always saying that, wow, this is a way of staying hungry and thirsty for the whole daytime hours. I says the hunger and thirst is the least of our issues. The hunger and the thirst is probably the least of the issues that we worry about as a Muslim or as a believer in the month of Ramadan al-Sharif. It is a level that is a higher level whereby we are actually fulfilling the obligation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a preparatory stage to become a little higher in our own essences as human beings. So we're trying to reach higher. The food and the refraining from food and water is an issue. There's not a week that goes by in Maha Ramadan where I don't get a phone call and say, oh, by mistake, I swallowed this. Or by mistake, and I was rinsing my mouth and I swallowed some water. Is my fasting broken? Am I going to have to give a kafara? Is my roza today batil? And it's, I remind them. I said, first of all, you just told me I swallowed water by accident. Alhamdulillah, that is your answer. By accident means you didn't do it on purpose. If you sit and do it on purpose, that is a whole different issue, and that is the kafara, that is a whole different state. By accident, it symbolizes that. And I sometimes when I'm speaking to a group who are teenagers or some older students, I remind them one thing. And of course, you have to see what the level of the majma is as well. I said, when you're doing your salat, your concentration should be on the salat. You should not be thinking of anything else but the salat. So if you say Takbiratul Ihram, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, I wonder if I got that assignment done. You've done the same thing. By accident, your mind went away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, away from Surah Fatiha to your assignment or your business. So by accident, when that happens, what happens? Of course, we feel the pain and the agony, and we should try and bring ourselves back to the salat in the case of salat, or the som in the case of som. But the by accident does not nullify from a fiqh point of view that ibadat that we have done. It doesn't nullify it. So the same thing in fasting, when you mention that, and again, the same thing applies. I get a phone call once every few months, and they'll say that, oh, on Friday, because, people have known, mashallah, the importance of Ghusl al-Jum'ah. And, it is mentioned that even if you miss the time, then do Ghusl al-Jum'ah with qazaniyat. Do it, even if you remember the next day, do it. So I've had people say, call and say, for example, that, oh, I went Friday morning, I did my, I went into the shower, I did everything I was supposed to. I came out, but I forgot to make the niyat. Do I have to go back and take another ghusl? So, the question that arises is, what did you go into the shower for on that particular day, on that particular time, at that time? You wanted to take the ghusl of Friday. So the intention does not have to be said. Of course, the only exception is in Hajj. But anything else, when you are doing it, intention is exactly that, intent. Why are you doing something? And of course, for young children, we teach them, okay, we are doing Salatul Jamaat, Zohar, behind so-and-so, Qurbatan, ilallahi ta'ala, we may mention everything, But when the rest of us are here, we are not expected to say the niyyah verbally, vocally, or loudly. And alhamdulillah, I've heard people do it. There's nothing wrong with it. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Before they start the takbir, they'll say, I am doing namaz al-Zohar, Jamaat, wajib, qurbat, alhamdulillah, that's fine. But if you don't say it, or if you're late and you run inside and you say Allahu Akbar, takbir al-ihram, and make sure you join in ruku, which is up to and including ruku, you can join Jamaat, and that would still count as your first rakat. The niyat is something that is in your intention, in your mind, or the reason why you're doing something. So the intention of fasting, and that is why the ulama have mentioned, yes, of course, you have to have an intention for fasting, just like you have to have an intention for salat, an intention for giving your khums or zakat, an intention for giving sadaqah. But a lot of times people don't make a niyat that I'm putting sadaqah in because I want to be protected, qurbatan ilallahi ta'ala. It is understood. These a'mal, these actions are understood. And so this is the level that we want to get to. Now, when somebody reaches a level whereby the fasting is at that point where even accidentally we don't look at something haram, even accidentally we don't listen to something haram, even accidentally we don't eat something haram, This is where the Sawm, the fasting becomes at a higher level than what is the basic minimum fiqh requirement. And this is why the application is the same in the Salat. If you look at the writings of Imam Khomeini Allahu Maqam on Asrar al-Salat, or even the Adab al-Salat, these are, there's a phenomenal writing that takes you to a whole different world, a whole different universe basically. And so we see that not everybody can reach that level, and not everybody is expected to reach that level. But what is expected of us is to try our best. The effort has to be as phenomenal as possible. And when that effort is there, then Alhamdulillah, Allah will basically take our hand and guide us to the level that we need to or want to reach towards. So what I wanted to say, the Imam was mentioning that fasting is not just a matter of staying hungry or thirsty. I mean, in fact, some people don't even get hungry or thirsty during the month of Ramadan. I was just, one of our bank managers, she was asking me this morning that, oh, it must be hard for you, this hunger and thirst. I said, the hunger and thirst, alhamdulillah, and she was saying the winter must be a lot easier. And I was not lying, I was not joking, I was just giving my own perspective. I said, actually, in the winter, I get more hungry when I have to break the fast at 4 or 5 o'clock than I get in these days. And they were looking at me as if I was from another planet. What do you mean? I said, in the summer, you get a little more thirsty, not so much hungry. But I said, the fasting is not just a matter of staying hungry and thirsty. It's a matter of disciplining. And the discipline is not something that is new to Islam. The ayah of the Quran Majid that we were talking about last week, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامِ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ, as it was for those before you, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may acquire piety, so that you may acquire taqwa, which is, of course, the whole purpose of Salatul Jummah. But the fasting is a discipline, and it was for those before you. So if you look at the book of the Old Testament, the book of Exodus, in there was the idea of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Moses, fasting when he went on the mountain, when he was writing the tablets, he had to fast for 40 days. One of the things that our ulama have mentioned based on the tafasir of the ayat of the Quran Majid, so this is the book of Exodus in the Old Testament, mentions that the fasting we have is actually a little easier than what Hazrat Musa had. What was the fasting or the Sawm in the time of Nabi Allah Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, we've got it actually much easier. We break it at Maghrib time, right? From Imsak, which is a couple of minutes before Subh al-Sadiq, and we go till Maghrib, and Alhamdulillah, that's it. And another thing that I really do need to clarify, and this is something that has actually crept into our community, and I had wanted to address it last week, but because of the time I didn't get a chance. Right away when I've gone to some communities where they say that, oh, just finish a date and then do your Maghrib, or finish Maghrib and then have a date quickly right away. And I remember asking some of my elders as well, I said, why do you do this? Why so much rush to do that? He said, oh, we don't want the fast to become makruh. And I said, gee, I don't understand. He said, yeah, if you don't break your fast on the proper time, it becomes makruh. I said, where did this come from? Who said this? And I don't want to go into names, and I don't want to go into personalities or the khilafat. I said, where did you get this from? He said, and then they look at me as if, are you saying something? I says, keep in mind, in the Ja'fari fiqh, at Maghrib time, your fast is broken. Your fast is broken at Maghrib time, whether you eat or not. That is your business and your responsibility. You don't want to eat till midnight? Alhamdulillah, that's up to you. You don't want to eat till nisfal layl? That's up to you. Your fast is broken at Maghrib. There's no issue of makruh or mustahab or sunnat or haram. There's no such issues for us. The fast breaks at Maghrib time. That's it. The matter is very simple. So don't go and stuff a date in somebody's mouth to try to prevent, because one of the issues that and I'm just speaking from my personal perspective, so I clarify what is a fiqh matter. Ulama are present in the majma, and I clarify what is my own conclusion and thoughts. So this is what is my conclusion and thoughts. Sometimes we have got the remnants of the date in our mouth when we're doing our salat. Now, remnants is not a problem, but if you've got a whole chunk of date in your mouth, that is a problem. That is ishkal. So you have to either make sure and wait before you start until you have finished that, because eating does nullify the salat. Doesn't nullify the wudu, but it does nullify the salat, because this is another question people, I try and also clarify some fiqh issues in these discussions. Your wudu is okay if you eat. I've known people who they finish their iftar and they go do wudu again for Isha salat. I said, did you do something to make any of the wudu bath? And he said, no, I ate my food. I said, if you look at the nawaqid al-wudu, there's nothing about eating that breaks your wudu. So you are okay to do your salatul isha after you have eaten your iftar, no problem. So what we wanted to clarify just in today's brief discussion is that it is not a matter of having to eat that could nullify, because the whole philosophy of fasting is higher level than that. It is not just staying hungry and thirsty. It's not just maintaining that, we don't have anything enter, or don't let dust enter your mouth, or don't eat this, it is a whole complete body that is fasting. That is what Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein al-Islam has been called, Muhammad has been philosophizing to the mu'mineen, that the whole concept of fasting is to discipline us. And this discipline is something that as I was saying, that Hazrat Musa, the discipline that he had to go through was when he was writing, he was in a state of Sawm. And some of the ulama, as I was saying, where I left off a few minutes ago, that the ulama said that at least we break our fast at Maghrib. If they were sleeping at Maghrib, they had to fast for another complete day. So they could not, if they were fasting or they didn't eat, they had to go for a whole another day. So they would actually have 48-hour fast almost. I know we complain about our 17 hours and 20 minutes or so, and we have got, there are those who have to fast much longer than what we did, and in much hotter places. Alhamdulillah, the last few days were like, mashallah, paradise here in this part of the country. Of course, I know you're going to say that the next couple of days are humid and hot and this. Of course, we have different tests. Imtihan will come in different levels. But so the book of the Old Testament mentions that even somebody like Moses, who is the father of Judaism, had a kind of a fast. And while he was writing the tablets, the commandments, the Almighty made him fast to do that. And when I was reading this chapter from these lines from the Old Testament, in preparing for today's khutbah, I remember a teacher of mine in home once telling me, he said that with a full stomach, you will not be able to achieve true knowledge. It was something that was very profound when he mentioned to me. He says, with a full stomach, you will not ascertain true knowledge, true ilm. He said, if you look at the lives of the ulama, many of them, if not most of them, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sayyidina, they will have spent much of their life in hunger. I'm not saying we should all stay hungry if we want to. I'm saying that as a matter of etiquette, not even as a matter of fiqh, as not even a matter of wajibat or muharramat. As a matter of etiquette, you will see that they spent a lot of their lives hungry, and from that they ascertain and reach the levels of ilm and ulum that transcended these dunyavi sciences and dunyavi levels. And if you look at the Old Testament, it's acknowledging that we made Moses fast for 40 days while he was writing the 10 Commandments. You can imagine, I mean, Ya Allah, you gave food to Hazrat Maryam out of the blue, and the date tree was there. She just had to shake it and the dates would fall down. She had a, mashallah, healthy, happy meal. All the other Anbiya, Hazrat Musa is right in your presence. Why are you keeping him hungry for 40 days and thirsty? Because one of the things, I went to another teacher yesterday, he was telling me, he says, oh, at least, thank God you can at least have water. I said, no, you're confusing the Catholic fast with our fast. We cannot have water or juice or fruits or anything. It's nothing until the nighttime. He said, isn't that impossible? Isn't that deadly? I said, you know what? I have not known anybody who's died because of fasting in North America. Because anybody who would be at that level where they are at risk cannot fast anyways. It is haram for them to fast. Somebody's got an illness, somebody's got some issues like diabetes and that. For many of them, it is not permissible for them to fast. So the Sharia is not making it an undue burden on the mu'mineen. It is creating a lesson of discipline. And when you, for example, have somebody who is not, let's say, a severe ill person, and yet they may not be able to fast because of health reasons or their own, then the Sharia actually makes an accommodation, just like in the Salat. And again, I ask for help from ulama and from others. You will see the fiqh saying that, okay, in Salat, if you cannot stand, you can stand with support. If you cannot stand with support, you can sit. If you cannot sit and pray, you sit with support. There's 4 or 5 different, and then if you can, then you lie down. The Sharia never told us don't pray. Allahu Akbar. The Sharia didn't tell us, okay, if you can't stand, if you can't sit, if you can't, don't pray. No, no, no. Sharia didn't say that. Sharia says, if you can't do this, do this. If you can't do this, do this. If you can't stand without support, stand with support. Okay, so you can hold on to something and do your salat. Then, so the same thing in the fasting. If somebody cannot do the full, but at the same time they don't have a medical reason why they cannot, then they go as far as they can. And then they can break their fast at that level. So these are the, there's these accommodations that the Sharia has made so that people don't miss their fast. They don't neglect their fast. Because as I said in the beginning, fasting is not just wajib and haram or food and water you're refraining from. It's a matter of bringing us to a level of closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whereby the entire body is in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we break our fast, or when the fast breaks at the time of Maghrib, then all those things that were haram during the daytime become halal. But whatever were the haram during the haram, and those who are inherently haram, those stay haram. So it's a disciplinary time for us. And I know sometimes the students in the public school get impressed when I say, it teaches us something, and I'm going to close with this. It teaches us that if food and water, which in the daytime is forbidden, but inherently is not forbidden, we are training ourselves to refrain from whatever is forbidden should be far away from our lives. And if you look at the philosophy of Ramadan al-Sharif, that's what it teaches us. It's reminding us that if I can control myself from the halal things for those few 17 or so hours, whatever is haram should be completely out of my life altogether. Whatever is forbidden should be nowhere near me, inshallah. And that is the foundation and the philosophy of fasting. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shaniyaka huwa al-abtar. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد وصل على وصي رسول رب العالمين وأمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين وقاتل الكافرين والمشركين مولانا علي بن أبي طالب وصل على بنت رسول رب العالمين سيدة النساء العالمين صديقة الطاهرة أم الأئمة فاطمة الزهراء وسلم على سبط نبي الرحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة إمام الحسن والحسين وآل والأئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين سيد العابدين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ومحمد بن علي الباكر للنبيين وجعفر بن محمد الصادق البار الأمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا المرتضى ومحمد بن علي التقي الجواد وعلي بن محمد النقي الهادي محمد وآل محمد والحسن بن علي الزكي العسكرية والإمام القائم الهادي المهدي المنتظر اللهم عجل فرجه وقرب زمانه وكثر انصاره واهلك اعداءه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنوا أرضك طوعا وتمتعوا فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. Once again I remind myself and the believers to observe the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. اتقوا الله اتقوا ربكم. And we're just continuing our discussion from last week on contemporary or current issues. There's two things that we need to inshallah address very briefly. Actually there's three things. One is of course at a global level, one is more of a local level. And the global one was that it was interesting when I was reading and analyzing the reason for the U.S.'s cancellation of this meeting with North Korea, which now, as of today, might be reactivated, might be reinstated. The reasoning that was given was because of North Korea's open hostility and enmity to the United States. So this is one of the reasons that was given early yesterday, for the cancellation. Now I was pondering for one thing. You're going to have a mediating or a summit. You're going to have a meeting which is going to be the first of its kind between an American leader and a North Korean leader. I mean, the two Koreas could not sit down, let alone North Korea sitting with somebody else. So I just wanted to maybe comically point out to the Mu'mineen, you sit down and have a negotiation or a mediation or a conversation with people who are hostile to you. Because if they're friends with you, you're going to be meeting them all the time anyways. So, if they are your friends, you're going to be talking to them regularly. You're going to be on the phone with them. You're going to be meeting them. You'll have summits with them. You'll have G7 summits. You'll have G20 summits. You'll have, G46 summits. You'll have all kinds of meetings with them. It is your enemies that you have to sit down and meet with. It baffles me, the illogic statements that have been coming out of the White House. And I'm not saying I was pro the previous president or the previous presidents. The presidents are just a figurehead. It's a puppet that has been put into place. But what I'm saying is at least there needs to be some degree of intellectual discussion or statements that come out from your Twitter account or from your your White House. And so it is obviously understood that who you're supposed to sit down with and try to have a meeting with are your enemies. Your friends are going to be with you anyways. I mean, if you think about it right now, who should we reach out to in the month of Ramadan al-Sharif? Who should we remember in our Namaz al-Shab, in our Salatul Layl? Our friends, I'm sure we have a tasbih full of, those counters. By the way, 40 is just a number. 40 is just a number. You can have 4, you can have 400. In your Namaz al-Shab, in your Salatul Layl, Allahumma Allahumma gfir, Allahumma gfir. It can be 40 is a number that has been given to us. If you can't remember anybody, Allahumma gfir al-mu'minina wal-mu'minat. And if you can, mashallah, remember your cousins, your friends, your families, your uncles, your puppies, your khalas, your ammus, everybody, mashallah, that list might be more than 150. Alhamdulillah. So 40 is just a number. But it is recommended, and I'll tell you from the level of the Urafa, they will tell you one thing, those who are at a high level of closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to get the maximum benefit of Salatul Layl, of Namaz al-Shab, remember your enemies. Allahumma gfir so-and-so. This person swore at me, Ya Allah, forgive him. This person was mean to me, Ya Allah, Allahumma gfir, forgive her. That is when your Salatul Layl will really reach Salatul Layl. That's when your Namaz al-Shab will reach the heavens, when you remember those you don't like. Because that is the test that we have. We will all remember our friends, our family, those who are nice to us, those who are scratching our backs, those who are patting us and all that. We remember those people easily. It's those that we don't like or those who don't like us. Those, when we remember, gives our Ramadan and our Salatul Layl and our Namaz al-Shab the power and the proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it deserves. So it's your enemies that you have to be concerned, reaching out to, not your friends. So when you say that, we cancel the meeting because of hostility, well, that is why you're going to have a meeting in the first place, to end those hostilities and end that enmity. The two items that I wanted to very briefly mention for our benefits, of course, inshallah, in less than 2 weeks now, we're going to be having our Ontario election. and our young brother Azan, is going to be handing out some flyers, just to flyers and some other information pamphlets. If anybody wants to get involved in the election, of course, we're not going to tell you who to vote for. That is your job to research and to investigate and to pick and select the best candidates. However, I do encourage and I strongly, strongly recommend everyone who is a Canadian citizen to please do go out and vote. Do your research, do your homework, but make sure your name is on the voters list as somebody who has cast a ballot. It is extremely important because we are keeping statistics on the Muslim vote, and alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all of your efforts and the whole ummah's efforts throughout, the Muslim turnout in elections, both federally, provincially, and municipally, locally, has been reaching heights that even the rest of the society has not reached. And we want to continue this momentum, and we want to, inshallah, ideally reach 100%, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. So he will have more information. If I have missed anything, just let me know. I know you are mic shy, so you may not want to speak, but please, Brother Azan will be happy to take anybody's names who want to volunteer and help out in the election, who want to create awareness, make sure that our community goes out and votes. Like I said, whoever you vote for is your prerogative, your investigation, your research, but we just want to make sure you do go out and vote. Because if we can go to a member of parliament, if we can go to a government minister, if we can go to a provincial premier and say, look, the Muslims are 90% voting turnout, you better listen to us. The voice is a lot louder than if we say, oh, 30% of us voted, but please help us out. No, it doesn't work like that. In Canada, in Western countries, it's a numbers game. It's strictly a numbers game, and we have to play by that game right now, okay? So that's one thing. Please make sure you participate in the elections. Take a few minutes to see the candidates, see what their platforms are. Some will be good for the rich, some will be good for the poor, some will give you free tuition, some will promise you daycare spaces and places in this, whatever you think. And just keep in mind that we don't want to leave a debt for our children. That's the other thing. Don't make so many promises that you're going to leave a heavy load for our grandchildren to be keeping. So, of course, we want to make sure that everybody is physically responsible as well. The last thing that I wanted to mention is that as in last Ramadan al-Sharif, we have a campaign that's called the Give 30 campaign, and I'll be handing out these flyers, or I might ask my dear brother Adhan to keep them along with this. What we're basically saying is Give 30 means if everybody who is able to give $30 towards the food bank, the local food bank here, which would be the price of coffee. If those of you who drink at this or that place, I don't want to name any places because I'm not here to advertise, but if you were to expect a buck a day for the coffee that you are not drinking in the month of Ramadan, that dollar, Thank you. I think that's why we did 30. The weekend we don't drink too much coffee. So if you can please, if you are able to, if your budget allows it, if you can't give $30, that's okay. Whatever you can, but if you do give it to us, you'll get a tax receipt, and just allocate, make sure that this is for the Give 30 campaign. What this does is this goes to the public food bank, and we're able to say, and last year we were able to raise $12,000, mashallah, locally, that helped many families in the region that are needy. The month of Ramadan will show that we as Muslims also care about the community that we live in, because there are hungry people in this community. There are kids going to school that are not full. There is hunger, whether we want to admit it or not. I've had people come and tell me, oh, this is Canada. There's nobody hungry in Canada. If anybody believes that still, come and sit with me. I will take you to places where I have seen with my own eyes, and because sometimes we also go and give food, they will actually eat, the crumb, the bread that the crust that kids don't eat. I've had people that have been eating that. We've given that to them, and they have actually eaten it and thanked us for it right here in this community. So please don't feel that there's no hunger. If you're able to, inshallah, the Give 30 campaign, it will be helpful. There's about 5 organizations that we are all a part of, including the Coalition of Muslim Women, and this is something that inshallah will show us as a Jafari community, our akhlaq in the community that we live in. May Allah inshallah accept our amal, accept our ibadat, accept our recitation of Quran and Salat, and especially our Sawm in this holy month. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us closer to Him, not only on this day of Jummah, throughout the month of Ramadan, and inshallah throughout our lives. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.